welcome back. Starting of season 2 of the Panthers Brawl. We took a little break, but boy, it is nice to be back. Guys, how y'all doing?
Just living. Just living a little bit.
3 weeks. 3 weeks till football.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. No, just excited to get back on. I mean, I missed you guys. I missed talking Panthers every week.
I'll say it was a quiet break. I'll say that much. Not a whole lot had happened without any real form of training camp. There's been some stuff going on here, and like I said, we hope there'll be football within 3 weeks. But the way 2020 is going, a lot can happen in 3 weeks. We know that.
Hold my beer.
I'll say we're holding the beers. We're making sure we're just everyone's just holding on for the ride. I saw earlier today they're like water spouts forming off the Gulf of Mexico. They're like little tiny like hurricane tornadoes and stuff. That's horrifying because what the heck 2020? And then there's 2 giant hurricanes coming to Texas.
And an asteroid that could possibly hit the day before the election, a very small one.
Of course. Of course, that's how that would happen. It's like the movie 2012, except just a couple years off.
Right.
All that stuff they were talking about have just waited 8 years. To make matters even worse, 2020 has been just such an awful year as it is. And like we said, so today, it's Kobe Bryant's birthday. And so, a lot of our thoughts and prayers are with his family. And there's a lot of tributes around the NFL and around the NBA and around just everywhere in the sports world today. I know the Dodgers, they all wore Kobe jerseys before they started. I thought that was really cool. And so another crappy thing that has happened throughout 2020 is about a week or so now, maybe it was a little bit less than a week. Adam Schefter put out tweets, and I guess the team had a discussion. But Ron Rivera was diagnosed with lymph node cancer. He said that he was pretty optimistic about it. They caught it pretty early, but still not something you want to hear from someone who's such a great guy and such a great coach, and was just treated like crap towards the end of his tenure in Carolina, and then walked into the absolute, and excuse my French, but shitstorm that is the Washington Redskins right now. And it seems like this is just the worst person for it to happen to. It's so upsetting. So, our thoughts and our prayers are with the Rivera family and with, him. So it's just something that, of course, not something that would happen in 2020. It's not even a shocker anymore.
Well, what we've heard here in Charlotte is that he will do a 7-week rotation of chemotherapy.
Okay.
But there's not a start date to it yet. So I'm assuming if it's not that bad, maybe they wait till afterwards. I'm not quite sure. We're not quite sure what the effects would be on him and his body. But the game plan, what I've heard right now and what I've been reading is 7 weeks of chemotherapy and some radiation. But, yeah, prayers and thoughts. I mean, listen, Ron's Ron came in and I think did wonderful things with Carolina and came in at a time where you don't even remember almost who John Fox is anymore. And that's good for a lot of us probably, but God bless Ron and what he did for the city, for the organization, and what he meant to Charlotte. I'm sure a lot of prayers are being lifted up.
It's just interesting when you have that little amount of coaches, only 5 over our entire tenure as a team, and I was thinking about it, and I was talking to actually my mom about it. My mom's a doctor, and I immediately, once I saw cancer, I was like, okay, what is it? How bad could it be? What are the options? And there's a point when any other kind of cancer spreads to your lymph nodes. That is when things can get really, really bad. This is more of a type of lymphoma, as she had said, and that in that regard, since it's very early, can be caught and treated right away. So that was kind of reassuring. But I found myself getting emotional. I was like, I don't know why I'm getting emotional. I've met the man once for 5 minutes, and she was like, well, that's been your coach. And I hadn't thought about it. I mean, yeah, we had Fox, and I mean, Tyler and I probably can attest to it more, because Shontis and Jeff knew the other coaches and knew Fox a little bit more. But it's for most of my adult life, it was Rivera.
Rivera, yeah.
Fox was there, and he was the end of it all. But it was kind of we knew of him, we knew how established he was, but for everything else, and all intents and purposes, Rivera was the guy. That was our coach, and we really didn't know anything. All the great memories we've had, as our adult tenure as a fan, has come through Rivera. So I got a little teary-eyed about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Rivera's gave us some of the greatest years in this franchise's history, and just knowing, at the end of the day, these are still people, and we gain connections with these people, even though most of us, like me, I've never met them, but man, you just don't want that to happen to anybody, especially a guy like Rivera, who's just been such a good such a strong pillar of the community, such a great guy as far as like you just can't as far as like his character. So yeah, you wouldn't want to see anybody go through that, but especially a guy that you watch, help build something that you care about.
And I think too, what you hit the nail on the head there. I think the gist is, you can say what you want about Dom Capers or George Seifert or John Fox. Ron meant something to the city of Charlotte. He was the one coach, I think, the Carolina Panthers that has had a connection to the city itself. And when you think Carolina Panthers, you and Ron Rivera, you think Charlotte, North Carolina. So I know, listening to the radio stations here and seeing the reporters and stuff talk about him, he made an impact. So I think that's what sets him apart from the other coaches that were here.
Yeah, and looking at Rivera, he's never going to be the most flashy coach. There's going to be more coaches out there that do the flashier things, but Rivera just consistently, day in, day out, he just does the right thing, and that's what's just so unfortunate about it. He's just a man of character, as you can tell from the teams, and then it's especially during these times too, for this to happen. You don't want it to happen ever, but just during all of this too, and even for him moving to a new situation, you just really feel for him and his family.
And it was just that he was just such a likable person. Like, you can think you can be annoyed with some of the things he had done and some of the moves he made, especially towards the end or maybe in the beginning. But like the persona of Riverboat Ron and the story behind him, like, you knew what history he was coming from, and you knew him as that insane, as one of the members of that insane Chicago defense in '85, and you knew where he was coming from. And then he just had the storylines behind him, being one of the only people, person of color head coaches in the NFL at that time and around, and knowing that coming in. And he was just such a no-name when he had it. And the whole dichotomy of him coming in right when Cam came in and right, around that time was a new wave for the Panthers. And I mean, like, we talked about it a couple weeks back, and the more I think about it, like, for me, at least personally, because of the span that he had and like how the 180 of going from, going, 1-3 and on the hot seat, about to be fired in 2013, and then winning the next 8 games and going 12-4, like, and everything else he's done after the fact. Like, in my mind, Rivera's on that Panthers Mount Rushmore. Like, if you were putting a head coach there, like, again, Fox it's a hell of an argument between him and Fox, but if we're really talking about it, I'm putting Rivera on that Mount Rushmore for the Panthers. Like, it's just happening.
I won't lie. It's not close between him and Fox, only because Ron Rivera was the only guy to win back-to-back division titles, get us to the playoffs consistently. Like, we had like a 5-year stretch, and I've been a Panthers fan for a long time. I can't remember any 5-year stretch where, I knew we were going to the playoffs. Like, it was every year. It was, could we go 11-5, or we could go 7-9? We don't know.
I think with Fox too, I agree with Shontis there. To me, it's not even close. And just is 2 things. There were 2 different sides to Fox, I think, all the time. Ron Rivera, you know what you're getting. You know what you're getting, and you know what type of football team you're getting. And I think that, and I know we'll get to probably Cam in a little while or whatever, but say what you want. I think he helped Cam grow as a person, and I think he helped Cam grow as a man in terms of a football player, as a human being. And I think that Ron Rivera, what he did not only for anybody else, but I think he did for Cam. That was one coach that could go, okay, I can handle this. I can rope this guy in, and I can help him mature and become a better player. So I think kudos to that. That's why I agree with you, Jack. I think when it comes to coaches, that right now nobody comes close to what Ron Rivera's done for the Panthers.
And I think, that's why I like things like All or Nothing. And I've been watching the ones with or excuse me, not All or Nothing. What is it? Hard Knocks.
Hard Knocks.
Yeah. And Hard Knocks, All or Nothing is kind of the same little thing. But I like those because, like, you always saw Rivera, he would get at it with the refs, or you would see him. You never really see him, though, in terms of his direct leadership with a player, because when he started, the social media was not as, immersive as our social media team is now. One of the best social media teams, I think, in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
Bar none. Mm-hmm. But when you have things like those inside documentaries, like, you got to see, like, how he actually was in the locker room, on the field, in those pre-practice meetings. And you saw, like, he was always that just stoic kind of Belichickian guy for the most part. Like, you never really got any huge emotion. When you did get that emotion, it made it so much better. And then you just got to see, like, the confidence he had and just the speeches he would make. And I was like, okay, this, like, you just appreciated guys like him a lot more. And that's where it kind of came up. That's why I like these kind of insider documentaries. It's nice as a fan, even just to watch teams that aren't even yours.
Yeah, that's why I was real excited when Panthers got featured on All or Nothing, just because, you look at the stats, you look at the signings, you look at, the games and what you see on TV, but what goes on behind the scenes just gets so overlooked, and it's crucial to what actually gets put on the field on Sundays. And seeing a guy like Ron, and in the Panthers you saw all the other stories, from Dante Jackson's to Devin Funchess. There a lot of good stuff in that. And so anyone out there, I encourage you to watch the All or Nothing Panthers. I probably will go back and watch it again.
Oh, I do, and it's stupid. I do it every time, and I'm like hoping once we get like episode 6 and we get to the Steelers that it'll somehow go a different way and won't go down that Super Bowl.
Well, let me say this too about Ron. Let me say this about Ron and going to the Redskins. That is a dumpster fire, from ownership to GM to whatever. But who better, because he went through some stuff with Richardson and the stuff that went on there. They've had their ups and downs as an organization with leadership, GMs who've been, I'll say, horrible. I'm sorry. I just think some of the GM, we can go around the horn with that. But I think for the Redskins, if anybody's going to bring class and an organized fashion and stuff like that, and we're going to grab our lunch pails and go to work, he's the perfect man.
Yeah. And so that's what and it's actually funny. I know it's not going to happen, but I would have actually really liked to have seen an All or Nothing, the Hard Knocks not Hard Knocks since it was training camp, but I would have liked to see an All or Nothing with the Titans this last season. I think that would have been an insane documentary. That would have been really, really cool, just with all with Mariota going. I don't want to start you on an avenue like that, but I think it would have been really dope to see it, especially towards the end once Tannehill got on. It would have been really different.
Mike Vrabel's interesting. I'll give you that.
So he's a lot more outspoken.
Oh, no, he is.
And he does the drills and stuff for the players. You see him out there doing push-ups and playing before the game.
I was mentioning that too. I think it's hilarious that we're podcasters, and then Taylor Lewan is an NFL player who is still making podcasts throughout all of this.
Busting with the boys.
Plus, as a ridiculous human being.
Well, and real quick, when I covered the Panthers and Titans last season at Bank of America Stadium, I went out there beforehand, and the first person out there was Mike Vrabel, and he was doing, 4 sets of 50 push-ups before anybody came out. I'm like, really, Vrabel? That's awesome. Anyway, on we go.
I was saying, and even more of a Hard Knocks that I want to see was, honestly, I would love to see a Hard Knocks specifically for the Panthers this year, because there are so many different things going on in training camp, from cornerback position battles to what the running back what the backfield is going to look like, to just to Teddy and everything. So there's a bunch of things that have come out of training camp. So Tyler, I don't know if you've been keeping up with it. Just give us some kind of rail off some of the top highlights of what we've already seen in training camp.
Like you said, the running back position, we got McCaffrey locked up, but we've talked about it on here so many times, what's after McCaffrey and, where's that going? Because, he's playing 90 to 100% of the snaps each week. At some point that's going to come back, and, he's not going to be healthy all the time. So we've been trying to establish that depth behind him. And, Panthers actually cut 5th round pick Jordan Scarlett from a few years ago, and we signed Trenton Cannon from the Jets. Small roster move, bottom of the depth chart type move. But now that really, has my eyes on, Reggie Bonifant or Mike Davis for the backup spot. We didn't really see much of Mike Davis last year. We made that trade for him midseason. It's kind of weird, and he plays some special teams. Never really saw a lot of backfield action. And then along with that, we've seen, Matt Rule, making his mark on the team with, typically you see the red practice jerseys on the quarterbacks, but you guys probably have some thoughts on this, but what do you guys think about the green practice jerseys for the quarterbacks? And then also, I don't know if you saw, but some of the injured players wearing number 1.
Okay. So the green, cool. I've seen coaches do that before. It's fine. I don't know what the PR has been doing here lately for Carolina, because exactly what's gonna happen when you throw red number 1 jerseys on the injured players. I think it's nothing personally. It wasn't much for me to really talk about, honestly, but it's at this point, I just kind of feel like you're poking the bear. These feel like real vague shots, and at this point, we're like, all right, because I don't want to believe it's a shot, but it's kind of hard to say it's not.
You're exactly right. I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm going, you got to be kidding me, because here's the deal. I would have said, a couple months ago, the breakup, there was no villain. Maybe it was just, we're going our separate ways and made the best, whatever happens, let it be the best for both. Not anymore. And I don't know if it was a Matt Rule deal, but now I think you look very bad as an organization. And I think they took a shot. Now, whether it was the owner or whether it was, I don't think it was Rule. I mean, that's ballsy if you're going to come in as a head coach and do that right away. God forbid you got to face them. But, I mean, it just, if you want to put red on it, I get it. But when you do the red one, you're taking a shot. And so why you do it, I don't know. But to me, it made the Panthers look petty, and it made them look like the villain here, and I didn't like it. And I thought it was a cheap move.
So what I have seen around, because I did look into this. I was like, why? Because to me, I was like, this can't be. You have so many other numbers you could use, and for also one thing, I never really saw it for the most part in past training camps I'm looking, where they would give injured players, for the one thing, making them wear jerseys. There's a lot of times they're not on the field that much as it is to where they would need to wear a jersey like that. They would just wear their normal jersey. They would either put like a skull cap on the helmet, or they would say, hey, here's the injured dude. Don't hit him, please. Like that. It's a weird thing to put a red jersey on. And maybe it was in different organizations where they had the green jerseys as well. They just decided to do that. But I've also seen to where some places they will do that with numbers that aren't being used that year. And they'll just have you wear that jersey with a number who isn't being used. So in that regard, I kind of understand. I was like, okay, well, no, we know no one's using number 1, so just let's have him use it. And maybe that'll go, we can. And maybe another thing I thought of is in terms of it's a mental thing for some of the veterans, that you knew in practice already you weren't supposed to hit the quarterback that hard. You knew you weren't supposed to take him out. So if a guy is kind of lilting, like a little bit, limping, they know in their head subconsciously to not hit number 1. So in my mind, that's what I was thinking. I mean, the green jerseys I don't really care about, because if anything, maybe it makes Rule feel like he's back at Baylor and he wants to, coach better. So if that gives you that push, go through that. But when it comes down to it, it's still a really weird vibe. And to me, it seems like a high school breakup where you've had this split now, but you thought it was amicable and it was your idea to break up with it. But now that they're living their best life, they're up on social media, they're doing everything, they're going out, they're partying and hanging out with all these different people. You're starting to get, maybe I shouldn't have broken up with them. Maybe I shouldn't have left them. And so you're trying to do petty things like take a new person to the same spots y'all went before. They're cutting their heads out of pictures and putting them up on your locker or something. It's like a high school breakup. It's really what it is.
Speaking of which, I know this happened a while ago now, but were any of y'all surprised by what Cam Newton said in his roundtable interview with Odell Beckham and Victor Cruz and Todd Gurley?
Oh yeah, we never talked about that. I mean, no, I wasn't at all. Cam has never been one to mince his words, and he's never been one to say what he doesn't believe. Like he just says whatever he's thinking and says it unencumbered. So in my mind, like I don't think he's trying to say anything to make him look better, because I don't think he cares at this point. Like I don't think he cares about looking good. Obviously, Cam Newton, he's never cared about what the public thinks about him. He just cares about being seen and being heard, no matter what they think about it.
Listen, they're an NFL organization. They can buy as many freaking jerseys as they want to buy, red jerseys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the gist is, and I've been on Twitter and I've read social media and I've heard some of the comments here on the Charlotte radio stations and stuff like that. And there are people who are saying that they have completely cut ties with Cam Newton. They will never even consider him a Panther from here on out.
Okay.
Like they will go, like when you would ask people right now, who was the better quarterback for the Carolina Panthers? You know where I'm going, Cam Newton or Jake Delhomme. And there are people in Charlotte right now who would argue Jake Delhomme did more for this organization than Cam Newton ever did. And I'm going, And so are they, and I put my head, I'm sorry, it's like I got a headache here. Are they just seriously trying to cut every single tie? You guys are younger than me and you guys are bigger fans than I am, where Cam will just be a non-existent flash in the pan for the Carolina Panthers.
Well, a lot of fans that I've seen, and I know Tyler could probably speak to this because he's on Twitter a lot. You see a lot of what Panther fans on Twitter talk about, and we talked about that earlier. Like, it's not a very happy group. They'll ride with anything the franchise does. And for people like us that, we understand NFL teams make moves, but we don't necessarily agree with everything. They look at us as kind of fair weather fans. That's how they look at us. When in our reality, we're just being objective. We see things we like. We see things that we think are wrong, and we speak on it. They are just homers. They don't want any. If the franchise said it, it's got to be true. That's just the only way they want to move. And we've all talked about Cam's issue, or not gonna say issues, but how people talk about Cam. It's got racial undertones coming in behind it, and they'll just much rather do away with it than try to address it.
I see. Those are the same people that think that Wes Welker is the best receiver the Patriots have ever had. Like, there's a common theme.
Okay, let me jump in here real quick, too. I'm gonna throw this in here because I did a little bit of research as we got ready for this or whatever. But I think about the Cam Newton Carolina Panthers kind of split, and how and Shontis, I think unfortunately in today's world it is what it is in terms of some racial undertones. But I go back and think about when Brett Favre went from Green Bay to Minnesota. And the Green Bay fans, there was no kind of middle of the road. You know what I'm getting at? Oh, yeah. It was, and I'll put Cam in the same as Brett in terms of, abilities and stuff like that and everything like that. But, they they would burn the city down or whatever because he was in the same division. And yet, I don't, it's kind of like, it's just weird. But like I said, I'll go back to it. I think the Panthers look bad with these optics.
On Tyler, I'll let you talk in a sec, but because I think there's the weird and sad part about this all is that Cam, there's a precedent in how Cam can handle this split and how the split will go. There's 3 precedents set in the Panthers organization in itself. There's the Steve Smith precedent where everyone was so upset that he was leaving. Everyone was so mad at the organization for letting him go. And Steve Smith handled it the way he would. He kept it quiet. He went to another team, and he handled his business on the field. And he showed the Panthers the mistake they made. And it seemed like the Panthers he wasn't acknowledging the Panthers. He was on the end of, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to mess with you. You cut me off. Now, thankfully, he's come round about. The Panthers reached back out. They extended the olive branch, said, we're sorry. It was an issue. We need to try this again. And so he's now come back and he's with the organization more. He's at practices. He's in the Ring of Honor, all that kind of stuff. There's the Julius Peppers route where it's kind of that same where he was again kind of quiet, didn't really say much. But then when we were playing, there was always, you could see the animosity in the play where they're just taking the ball away from Cam or a cheap shot here or there. But then he came back, and he actually, and now he's fully invested again in the organization. It wasn't as, but there was times where people they hated Peppers, and they're like, okay, well, there's nothing we can do. We trade, it was all that. Then there's the last and final route that I hope he doesn't take, and that's D'Angelo Williams. He didn't do anything really after the fact when he was gone. He just blew up on social media. Some points were valid. Some points didn't need to be said. He attacked, certain members of the Panthers and players, and now. There are people who won't even put him in the top 5 Panthers running backs. Seriously, there are people that have put, Brad Hoover ahead of him, even though he wasn't an actual full running back. So Cam has and that's the thing. When you think about it, Cam's still very young. He could easily, if it were happening, he could be like another Steve Smith, where he doesn't play for us ever again, and we all are so upset about it. Or he could pull a Julius Peppers. He has other career with other teams, and then still comes back towards the end of his career to just, kind of make things amicable. I don't know if that's going to happen because thinking about it now with how it's gone, it's definitely been a lot different than in years past. And I also am realizing now with all the racial problems that, Richardson had, and the 3 of those players that I just listed, the one common theme about their releases and how, if it was also the fact, it's kind of just wild that we had a black quarterback to begin with having Jerry. It's really kind of shocking in itself that he was even there to begin with, if you really think about it.
Go Tyler.
Yeah, just with Cam, going back to that, like Shontis was saying about, Twitter and, some of the fans, just everything going with what the Panthers do. And then you have, some of them being like, completely case by case and judging on it. I feel like that's the same way with Cam, but on a larger scale with literally anybody interested in the NFL. Cam now, he's in that three-way battle, we'll say, with Stidham and Brian Hoyer, but it's all Cam's job. But like we've talked about, I think that's going to be a great situation for Cam. Should easily come out on top there, and just talking about that Steve Smith, revenge game just gets me nervous for whenever we run into Cam.
We're recording. So we're recording this. It's Sunday, August 23rd. The first preseason game of the year was supposed to be this past Saturday for us, hosting the New England Patriots and Cam Newton. Had COVID not, done all that, we would have seen. And honest to God, I feel like Cam would have stayed in all 4 quarters and have been like, "Oh, if you wanted to play me last preseason in a game, I'm gonna play the whole game this preseason, and you go see the difference." Like, I think he would. He put 100 points on us. I really think he would try. He's like, "Oh, you drafted 7 new defensive players? Oh, that's cute. You don't have Luke? Oh, that's cute. Let me go." Like, he put up 100 points. I honestly think.
Here's the growth point for Cam Newton, though, and you talked about how this breakup's going to go, and you talked about how it could go. I think what the interesting part with Cam is, Cam will take his shots at the Panthers, but it won't be directly at the Panthers, if that makes sense. He won't mention the Panthers. He may not mention Ron Rivera. He may not mention ownership. He will just say, "I'm getting the job done when you didn't think I." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he kind of puts it all on everybody. So and that'll be his growth. Maybe his second year he'd have come back and said, forget the Carolina Panthers. I think he does it on the field, but I think he does it now in a way that's going. Yeah, he did it with all Instagram during the offseason. Come get me, and so it's not directed to the Panthers, but it is.
Yeah.
It's crazy enough about some of the social media stuff Cam posted. There was a point where people thought that Cam was taking shots at Teddy, which if you just look a little bit harder, he wasn't talking about Teddy. He probably was talking about Phillip Rivers, probably talking about Joe Flacco, probably.
Don't say Ryan Tannehill.
I wouldn't say Ryan Tannehill. Probably I wouldn't say Tyrod Taylor because they do seem to have a relationship, but kind of. I could have seen that shot being sent over there as well. I don't think some of the shots that Cam Newton sent, I don't think they were necessarily all at Carolina. They were kind of more so at the league, like, so nobody wants me.
Yeah.
Right. I agree.
And we said it before, and I'll say it again. That was the genius of probably not just Belichick, but the whole Patriots front office. They knew exactly what Belichick knew the minute we cut him, they wanted Cam. I guarantee you.
He was on their list.
He was just waiting for Cam to, get pissed because Cam did want a bit of money, but Belichick is a conservative guy. He's not going to spend that much money when he doesn't know what he's really getting. Because he would have been honestly just fine as well had someone else sign Cam. He would have been just okay with it. He's not going to go in a bidding war for Cam, but he let Cam sit and fester, and because I think he also had the foresight to know that no one in the NFL was going to touch him because they can't. Because Belichick can revitalize him. He knew how to help him out, and that's what you're seeing now. And that's the one thing that's been weird about 2022 is now. The whole narrative has changed. Cam is now he's the comeback kid. He's the the dilapidated building that you're trying to build from the ground up. Like, it's wild. People are like, okay, like Cam's the guy. And when he was in Carolina, he was never getting that. He's like, he'll fizzle out in a year or two. He'll fizzle out in a little bit. Like, they won't be able to have the same college kind of offense. But now now Belichick's going, yeah, no, I mean, I'm gonna make it work. Like, that's why we got him.
The craziest part of me was that people thought that Belichick, who is highly regarded as probably the greatest coach in NFL history, they thought that he wouldn't change his system for a player that has an immense amount of talent. No, this is what you do. This is what good coaches do. They take players who have a certain set of skills. We'll change a few things, we'll tweak a few things. We'll still keep our system, but we're going to make things comfortable for the player to be able to succeed to their highest potential.
And it's hilarious because this is the same team that took Antonio Brown. And you think a guy that just took a chance with Antonio Brown, who's a psychopath, wouldn't take a chance with Cam? Like, there's no reason to why he wouldn't do that.
But is Cam going to be on a shorter leash as AB was? Because it didn't take Belichick long to go by.
No, because again, AB's stuff he was doing off the field was taxing to what his on-the-field performance was. Everything Cam does off the field, especially on social media, is to continue to fuel his performance on the field. He's doing this to supplement his performance, not to just be, again, a Kanye West-level psychopath. Like, he's doing it to show that, hey, like, it's just his mouth. That's just him. It's an outlet for him to go, okay, I'm going to say this, do whatever. It's just like his wearing his clothes. And everyone's like, oh, Belichick doesn't want this guy who's going to dress like, the Joker going to Easter on his team. It's like, Belichick could care less about what he could absolutely care less.
Well, Belichick loves the fact that now at the pressers, he doesn't have to talk. He'll just let Cam come in.
Yeah.
Belichick, go here, talk to Cam. He'll be your fun guy.
Talk at every press conference because they'll tell the exact same story of the game, and it'll be like night and day. And it was. You talked about it on Twitter, like the way Twitter followers are, and like Twitter. You can't, like, you have to take some of it in stride and some of it seriously and some of it not. But Panthers fans on Twitter, I don't know what it is. They don't want to be happy. They don't want to take what we have. Like, they're upset. Like, they'll be upset with guys like John Ellis for dwelling in the past and, like, posting videos of Cam or Kuechly. Like, they'll be upset with him about that. But then on the other end, they'll be upset when we try to embrace Teddy or let Teddy be Teddy. They're like, he's never going to be Cam. And I'm like, okay, you can't have it both ways. Like, you got to – it seems like Panthers fans will never be happy on Twitter.
It's a weird dynamic because while I love Cam and while I'll always revel in what Cam was able to accomplish and what we accomplished together, I'm excited for what's next. I like Teddy. Teddy can play. I think people the group of Panthers fans that just don't believe Teddy can play, I'm like, well, I don't really know what you've watched here lately because when I've seen Teddy get a chance to start, he's been nothing short of just efficient. And he wins. I don't really care. Yeah, the numbers aren't great, but you don't win 20+ games in the NFL on accident. It's hard to win in this league. You don't do that by accident. He went 5-0 in a stretch where the Saints season could have been derailed by any other team. If they lose a quarterback like Drew Brees, their season's over with. He comes right in 5-0 and they look great. And he looked great. I mean, it took him a couple weeks to get into the groove of things to get back to that level where he was in Minnesota. But after about 2 or 3 games, he's clicking on all cylinders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think fans just need to know what Teddy is and just let him go out there. And if he dances a little bit here and there, so be it. I mean, he's not a robot like people think. But it's just Teddy. He's not going to be your Cam at all with the mobile threat, throwing it downfield, slinging it into these tight windows. But like you said, efficient and he's going to win. I think fans need to ease up on Teddy because he just stepped in and he's just doing his thing.
Well, I can promise you, like in training camp, he has been, from what I gather, more than accurate. Has done. People are like he could be. Accuracy wise, he'll be so much better than Cam. Whatever you want to say there, but Shontis, what you said. You put Teddy on some of the teams that lost their quarterbacks. The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, they
would have been in the playoff. They'd have been in the playoffs.
And a contender at that. They would not only been in; they would have been a contender.
Absolutely, they would have easily been a contender. But Ben Roethlisberger. So you take some of those teams that lost their quarterbacks, and you put Teddy in there. The Saints didn't lose a step. They were right there, and so Teddy has the chance now to take this and make it his team. And I think Teddy is going to go out and have, for the first time, I think he's going to have fun. New Orleans, there was some pressure. Listen, I'm behind Drew Brees. I got to win. I got to do this for Sean Payton. Hey, I got a new head coach. I got a new offensive coordinator. I'm the man. Let's go out and have fun and win football games.
I say I'm still gonna fall and die on the point that I still believe because there's a lot of miracle and Cinderella story around the Eagles back in 2017 I think 2018 when they won the Super Bowl, but I still fully believe that if they had a healthy Teddy Bridgewater on those Vikings, that they're beating the Eagles in that NFC Championship game. I just believe it because the Eagles were so just not flashy at that point, and the Vikings, the offense that they had, like I think Casey Keenum still did a good job, but didn't have that like extra push to get him over the hump. But I believe that if Teddy was healthy for that game, they're winning that game. They're going to the Super Bowl. I don't know what happens when they get there, but I mean, it's just I think the offensive. I think honestly, and that's another thing. I think McCaffrey this year will actually get a little bit of a break. I think he'll still be used as much, but he won't need to be. He won't need to be that last chance, literally having to dive and trip and literally like bobble the ball to himself so he can get a third down or flip over people. I think the wide receivers that we had, it's going to be one of the best wide receiver groups we've had.
I'm getting real excited for that, yeah.
Like the training camp videos I've seen, everyone from Pharaoh Cooper and Brandon, whatever his last name is, Xylophone or whatever, is making
Xylophone.
I'm not going to try. It's like Sylvester or something, but it's not that. I don't know. So I'm going to skip it and move on. But we all know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But Pharaoh Cooper, Curtis, they're all making plays. And again, it's training camp, so you can say what you will. But like, I'm excited for the wide receiver group. Like, I think the way Joe and the way that Brady, the amount of wide receivers and the amount of different touches that everyone got a chance at the ball in LSU, like, I think you're going to see that same thing come to the Panthers and that same sort of offensive style.
Oh, man. Oh, Lord, bro. I think we just never had this much speed in our wide receiving core ever. Like, from top to bottom, everybody's booking about a 4-4.
Yeah.
And there's so many ads. Like, you think about how we use Curtis Samuel. Well, I think about how Pharaoh Cooper used to be used in college. I'm like, oh, man, we have so many utility guys that can just do so many different things. There's so many different matchup problems that I think we can create. And once this offense gets going, oh, Lord. I've argued that this Panthers receiving core is top 5 in the NFC. And you probably could push towards top tier in the league if we just look on paper what we have. And the biggest X factor we've all talked about is Curtis Samuel. Whenever he decides he's ready to be a star, that's when the game starts for real.
If that's the X factor, and I want to get Tyler's opinion on this, the Y factor is going to be that's great. You got the speed, you got CMC, you got Teddy. What about your O line? There's your Y. Yeah, there's your Y factor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we saw earlier this week the report that Dennis Daly, 6th round tackle guard, kind of can play everywhere across the line. He's taking first team reps at left guard, which for a 6th late round pick, so not too bad. South Carolina alum, so I'm sure you guys are pretty happy about that one.
Of course. When we got Greg Little, I was like, all right, cool. We're helping build the offensive line. And we knew what we were getting in terms of his injury history, but it was still, it was a big pick for offensive line. And my stance here. We never wanted to draft offensive linemen, and it was making me so angry. And so then when we got Dennis Daly, and I was like, okay, all right. That's just maybe it's just a home thing, the 2 states, 1 team thing. They want to acknowledge South Carolina. But then with all the injuries last year and the way that the lineups were going, maybe 35 different offensive line sets we had last year and different rosters, you saw Dennis actually get some playing time. And when he was in, he was actually putting in work. And I was like, okay, he can maybe make the starting line. And when we drafted again, no offensive linemen this year. Like, I think with the way, like, this offensive line has such a space to where they need someone to be the anchor. Like, Paratus can do whatever. Like, he can be that kind of – he's that better now, I guess. But, like, Dennis can easily come up with Turner being gone and try to become that, like, the guy. He's in a prime, like, kind of strategic position. Not necessarily, in terms of blocking, but in terms of reading the defensive line and the schemes that they're running. He's in that position where he has got a good field of vision for it. And I would love to see him just outperform what everyone expects him to, and just all this stuff.
Yeah, hopefully,
all the guys on the roster now.
Oh yeah,
like
hopefully because with the revolving door of offensive lines that we had last year, I'm not sure that's going to be much different this year, especially on the interior. Paradis at center. Moten will be at right tackle, but then at left tackle you have Russell Okung, who we know about that trade, and then Greg Little, which 2nd round pick. Is he even going to crack the lineup at all? We'll see about that. And then on the interior, still like John Miller, free agent signing, and a few other minor pickups. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, especially at both guard spots.
I will say with offensive lines, it's kind of a year-to-year thing because it's not. See, offensive lines, you don't necessarily have to have the big names in order to have a good year or have a top-tier offensive line group. There's plenty of years where we haven't had guys that were, probably shouldn't have been signed by anybody. Mostly may have been undrafted free agents, and they put together a good year. I can see this offensive line putting together a solid enough year for us to be able to be a playoff team. But, everything's going to fall in that defense because you have a bunch of kids running around that defense now. So you gotta kind of wait and see what happens with that. But the offensive line, I could see them putting together a solid enough year for the offense to be top half in the league as far as like production.
I hate to say it because I hate playing against it, and I hate it. It worked for the Patriots, but I still hate it. I hope and pray that Brady is implementing some sort of kind of dink and dunk offense where he can just throw it out to McCaffrey in the flat or DJ or Robbie in the slants, just get the ball out of his hands quickly, because like that was a problem in 2015. That was why we fell apart and were dissected, because the Broncos found out that our whole offense was really anchored on our offensive line. It was all runs and deep passes, neither of which you can do if your offensive line can't keep the floodgates from opening. And that's what kind of destroyed that game, is that we couldn't run the ball and we couldn't get deep passes. And I feel like this kind of offense, the weapons we have, Brady could try to set up that same thing, another running attack with deep balls, because Bridgewater can get it out there, and these guys can get out there to get it. But if Brady maybe kind of reconfigures and tries to do a bit of a dink and dunk passing offense, might work out a little bit better for us with the offensive line we have now. Put a little bit less pressure on these guys that are either really young or really don't stay healthy that often.
But all three of you guys have already mentioned it. The difference between this and a lot of the other Panther teams is the speed.
Yeah.
You've got the speed. You've got people who can get downfield a lot quicker. So if Bridgewater can get, just one extra second, so be it. And, with CMC, listen, give him a crack and he's going to get through it. So, you've got the type of offense where, just don't be spectacular, but be good enough to just give that one extra second or get that crack open. And this offense can be, I'll go out on a limb, it could easily be a top 10 offense in the NFL.
Oh, it can win. That's the saddest part.
Easily
It can win 11 games. The schedule we have and the way this year is, like, it can win 11 games. And so that's another thing we didn't talk about. So I was with Russell Okung. I mean, that could be there's 3 weeks. We don't know what could happen with him. We thought he was going to opt out because of COVID and his, all of his heart stuff. Now it seems he might even just straight up retire, which I don't know how much. I mean, I don't know how much it really hurts us. We're going to have to rely on some other kids, but like, I wouldn't shed any tears for his retirement. I wouldn't go to his party. Like,
I'm only upset because we traded away a 26-year-old all-pro guard for this. This is, and mind you, yeah, we didn't know this was going to happen. We didn't know we were going to have a whole pandemic, and we weren't, and so many players will opt out. But he still had that heart issue before the pandemic. So there were always questions about his health coming into this. So now, I mean, I don't know. You traded a 26-year-old guard for an older offensive tackle that was on his last leg. I didn't really see the
there is no logic
in that.
That's a Rich Cho move, and there's no logic behind that move.
Mm-hmm. For me, I mean, I'd rather see Greg Little start at left tackle and see if we can get something out of our second-round pick. Why not?
Honestly,
we would hope we would want that, but I honestly don't know what this organization wants with this offensive line. It seems like it willingly and willfully just disregards any health history for their offensive line. It's ridiculous. And so another guy that opted out is Christian Miller. I don't know what y'all's personal opinions are with opting out. I'd say, I mean, they're humans too. You got to understand that. And so, I mean, I think it's more upsetting because I thought he had potential, and with this, with the open door of the linebackers, he might have maybe had a chance to make some plays and maybe prove himself. Like, he was a guy. I like the story. He came from Bama. I mean, that's a guy you kind of would like to succeed. But I don't know. So I don't know what y'all's thoughts were on that.
I'll say I don't. And this may sound a little like, I guess may sound away, but unless you're doing everything you can at home to ensure that you're never going to be in contact with anybody that's had COVID or anything like that, I kind of just didn't see, unless it was for a family member's sake, I didn't see why you don't play. I understand it, but for a guy like Christian Miller, he probably can't afford not to play. Like, this can derail his career, because you are already a lower round draft pick. coming into a situation where a new head coach, you were coach, you were drafted by the previous regime. You don't have any leeway with this with these coaches, and you don't have enough film, at least on the NFL level, to take you to another team that would be willing to give you a chance to really have a starting position. This year was going to be a year for Christian Miller, where I thought he could have took a big leap, because we thought he'd shown some signs last year, but now, I mean, understandably so, he didn't want to take the risk. So I had to do nothing but respect it.
You know, you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. And it just becomes, you know, if 2 weeks in we shut everything down and, you know, the NFL, you know, just stops, then okay, I get it. But, you know, like you said, Shontis, if all of a sudden we play a whole season and there are guys who step into that role and perform, guess what? Oh, you're done. you are done. And it's, you know, it's that realm of, you know, and so it's across the board from, you know, even high school to college to the pros or whatever. But I get it. You know, if you've got that type of family member that, you know, and listen, this thing is nothing to joke about or take lightly. This thing sucks. And people are getting it left and right. But, you know, it's that realm of, at the end of the day, we've got to respect everybody's decision that, you know what, you're a human being, make up your mind. If you want to play, play. If you don't, have at it. But like you said, my biggest thing is if you opt out, you're taking that risk that we're going to have a season. It's going to be a great season, and you're going to be left behind. I don't know what Tyler thinks. Tyler, you're a football player, man. You're playing. I mean, are y'all playing?
Yeah. So actually, we have a spring season. So March 12th is my first game. Not gonna be a little bit cold up here for that one. But you know, for us, you know, it's just day by day. You know, we're hoping to get some stuff, you know, going in the fall. But you know, I totally understand the decision, but you know, a lot of these, you know, schools and organizations that have a plan in place, you know, I say go ahead and try it. You know, see, you know, you got to be careful with it, of course. Like you said, it's, you know, nothing to play around with, but you know, you got to think, like, I mean, we're football guys, but like, you know, it's got to be tough to skip out on a season like that. But you know, definitely perfectly understand it. You know, Christian Miller has always been a guy, you know, I really liked him before he even, you know, became a Panther, and good pass rusher. Thankfully, we've kind of addressed some of the pass rushing needs through the draft, but like we've talked about on here, you can't have too many rushers. But you know, I mean, compared to some other teams, we kind of got lucky with the opt-outs. You've seen like a lot of Patriots guys, you know, leaving. Like but yeah, 6 to 8, something in there. So, you know, I'll take what we got.
So I think with Miller, people forget it's like kind of a different circumstance. I think this was much more a family decision. So he's having a kid, and if we remember, his dad just died. What was it, like a week or so before the Arizona game, I think?
Yep.
It's when his dad died. And so I think probably, I don't want to speak for him, but in the back of his mind, he's going, my dad doesn't, you know, my dad will get to see his grandkid. My dad doesn't get to meet, you know, and I don't want to be like, I don't want to go through this, get COVID and play. And then if worst comes worst, I die. Now I'm not going to be there for my son. And so, like, that's because, I mean, he's pretty young to, you know, had his dad die. And so I think that was probably more of what drove that situation. Because, yeah, I think, like, Shontis hit on the nail on the head. Like, I mean, this is basically a retirement for him, if you really think about it.
It's tough, boy. It's tough.
It's a hell of a climb back up. Yeah. Like you said, you're in a new, different regime. This ain't the guys that drafted you, and it's just a lot different. So I think that's probably what ended up, you know, hitting the nail on the head for him. Yeah, some other things that we saw.
Yeah, no, and you're seeing that a lot. Real quick, Jack, with a lot of the college players, you know, opting out and declaring for the draft. Caleb Farley, Virginia Tech corner, you know, considered as one of the, you know, the top corners in the draft. You know, a family thing. You know, can't afford to lose another. So, you know, you completely understand. You feel for him, and you respect that decision, and you know, just hope for the best for him. You can't blame him at all. You know, with this, you know, crazy pandemic, but you know, it just, you know, is what it is.
Unfortunately, it is what it is.
And real quick, and you know, and for fans need to, you know, listen. We're passionate about our teams. We're passionate about this sport, but at the end of the day, pull off the blinders and realize these people are making human decisions. It's not, at the end of the day, this guy sets out, your football team's going to come to a crashing halt. At the end of the day, these are human beings that, I'm going to sit there and go, listen, dude, you want to opt out? I get it. I understand it. God's blessings. I hope everything works out, and I hope you get back. And that's the gist. Is a lot of times fans, we get these on the blinders right here.
Yeah.
We just want to see everybody out on the field and win, and we want to just see football so bad. Sometimes we don't think, of really what's going down.
No, yeah, definitely. So there's some other things that came out of training camp. Like we saw, like it said, Dennis Daly getting that, is looking to get that starting spot, which would be awesome. And some other South Carolina guys. And so I hate to not mention it sounds biased, but honestly, we've been doing those fan posts. I have noticed a lot of those fan posts are from the University of South Carolina, and they lived in like Rockville or Fort Mill. So there seems to be a pattern when it comes to it. But other guys like Farrell Cooper's been making some plays. I think he'll probably even make his way up to 5th or 6th spot as a wide receiver, which would be pretty dope. Other than that, they've been saying that like Will Greer and Farrell Cooper have had a big kind of connection in a lot of the passes, and that so Joseph Charlton, who we signed on to be a punter, he apparently is not very
Nope.
well. So he's
Nope.
a game. Not
Have you seen the video? Have you seen the video of his punt?
I had.
Yeah.
It goes like 10 yards off his foot and goes over the fence.
That's sad.
But they're signing a bunch of different kickers and punters. I don't know what the heck they're trying to think of for special teams. That seems like, and apparently Christian McCaffrey will be taking a bunch of punts.
CMC's been punt returning, yes.
Put Farrell back there. Obviously, Farrell's good at punt return. Like, why put literally the only reason you're a football team back there to get pile drived by because let's not act like our special teams has gotten any better over the years in terms of our punt return team. Like, it's still been horrible.
The best it's probably been was when we had Philly Brown back returning punts and kicks.
Yeah, honestly.
That's probably the
Philly
best.
Brown.
I miss Philly. That's how we had fast receivers, except it was thrown off because it was Philly and Ted, but then we also had aging Jericho Cotchery and the elephant that is Kelvin Benjamin.
Such an odd group.
Oh, very odd. It was really there's no way other than
Don't be surprised to see CMC back there though. I mean, Matt Rule has said, hey, he only needs a sliver of light and he's gone.
Anything's better than what's his face? The
Brent Burson. Oh no, Ray McLeod.
Ray McLeod and the other one.
Yeah, he was bad. He could not catch the ball.
Man.
They were not.
I like Ray McLeod because he was so good at Clemson. I really hoped he was. I really hoped he would have worked out in the NFL. But
I don't want to Clemson players succeeding on the Panthers. Like everyone's like, oh, tank for Trevor. No, I don't want him. I don't need him. I don't want it to have it. Him and Ben Bulwer look the same in my eyes. I don't want it. I don't want either. But yeah, so I mean, for that was our first episode of season 2, y'all.
I got 2 questions.
Okay, never mind.
I'm gonna extend it real quick.
Okay. Oh God.
2 players that you could have, yes or no. You can just round table. Jadeveon Clowney, he hasn't signed anywhere. Would you take him in a heartbeat? And Earl Thomas.
So I'll get first off. Also, I meant to mention apparently KK has been taking reps at the edge position now. Don't know what that's about.
Nope.
I thought that's why we drafted the dude with 4 last names and the other one. I
4 last names.
That's about. And so also that's another thing. Apparently, Thomas Olivier, Stanley Thomas Olivier.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's not doing great either. Their projections
I figured he would.
the roster.
So,
you don't like to see that, but I mean, the cornerback position was going to have there was going to be someone out of there. There's so many people there now.
Hey, let's go Corn.
Yeah. Corn is like a hike. I don't want any man whose his God-given name is a vegetable on my team.
Yeah.
You can't go hard if your name is Corn. Like I'm not going to be intimidated by you.
No, I can't. I really can't. You're just giving me every reason to go after you on every play, and that's exactly what Russell Wilson and the Seahawks did in 2018. Just straight up.
Remember that? Yeah.
David Moore and Doug Baldwin.
Oh God.
But we're going back to Jeff's question. First, I mean, for the hometown thing and as a Gamecock, I would want Jadeveon, but I don't know how much he's actually contributing on that. Like, if I would take Jadeveon, but put him as a linebacker. I would put him back on the back. I would put him on as an edge linebacker, kind of an outside linebacker. Let him play a little higher position, like we're doing with Burns and like with everyone. I would try to do that. And no, I don't. The only reason Earl Thomas was successful it was in the bubble of the League of Boom. He worked in succession with everybody else there. He can't hold. He can't at this age. Like back when the Boom was a thing, he might have been able to hold his own by himself. But now, no, he can't hold his own. He's the last. He's gonna fall off, and Richard Sherman will be the only remembrance of the League of Boom or Legion of Boom. Excuse me.
Okay, Tyler, I'm gonna let you shoot next on this one.
Yeah, no for Clowney. It's gonna be a no for Clowney, just because coming out of South Carolina is supposed to be this great high end pass rusher, but it's really not what he's been. More of an interior stunt. Off stunts. You got to give him some help. He's not your dominant one-on-one rusher that's going to win. And, not been a great locker room guy either. Nothing major, but kind of just been a head case. And, that's got to be a reason why he's not on a team now. And, especially for the Panthers, such a young team, we're really not going to be competing this year. So I don't know why he signed Clowney for 1 year. And, we're probably not going to have to – if we – he plays for a year here, he's going to need a big extension after that. And I can't see us doing that. And then, Earl Thomas, I just, there's no way I can say yes to that. After all this, Earl is one of my favorite players, like back in the day, 2012, 2013, Legion of Boom, just playing that center field. But, with age and, we saw what your Titans did to him at the end of last year. That was a rough game for him. So, I can do without Earl. But speaking of the Titans, I'll take Logan Ryan, though. Yeah, we can scoop him up.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't understand why we.
Back up real quick. So yeah, the Earl Thomas. There was a great meme today on Twitter, or whatever, where it would be the Titans sign Earl Thomas as a fullback for Derrick Henry to block for Derrick Henry, just from that one shot when he was backwards, and Derrick was using him as a blocker. Go ahead, Shontis.
Yeah. Make this thing short. No to both, but no to both. But I just really want to know what actually happened in Baltimore, because I just, you
haven't seen video. You haven't seen video. You haven't seen anything, and I think they were just looking for a way to get him out of there, and not take the cap hit or something.
I was saying, so because with the way that they released him, they don't have to pay the rest of his contract.
Right.
He's trying to save money, so I think it was kind of one of those things, and it honestly They said it was fighting, but I kind of feel like it was a little bit of a mutual thing where it was like, you don't have to say you're retiring because then you have to come back out of retirement. Money wise, I feel like he probably did still want the end of his contract money, but it was probably to the point where he was like, I don't want to be here anymore. Either fire me, and they're like, well, we won't fire you, but what about if you quit? And then, so I feel like it was something that sort of in the middle where he was like, yeah, okay, I'm leaving. It was like, you don't have to. We can't say you're fired, but
right.
You either quit or either this is going to happen, or it was a weird just kind of around, because organizations like that, they'll just we didn't fire, or we didn't suspend Josh Norman for taking a swing at our literal star quarterback.
Right.
We didn't fire. It's sort of the Titans didn't fire Cortland Finnegan for literally being Cortland Finnegan. You just don't. So I think that was just kind of trying to just tiptoe around.
Right. Right. Oh, yeah.
It was weird. Because, when that thing happened with Norman, video within an hour.
Right.
And maybe it's because of COVID that there's not that many people, actually getting to film out there. But,
somebody has it. Somebody has it.
If something actually went down, I think they just don't want – because wasn't there some sort of, thing where wasn't he roped up in some sort of domestic abuse?
Yeah. Yes.
Which I think
him and his brother. And it was a very odd situation.
Yeah, it was two – we're not going to talk about it. It's too X-rated for,
Oh,
yeah, don't.
Not about that. I think just something in Baltimore makes you want to do weird things.
It was him and his brother and a girl, and it was not pretty.
So that's I don't want either of them. I do want, because also apparently Jeremy Chin has made a huge splash in training camp. He's gotten a lot of good stuff where I think he could be fighting Justin Burris for that starting spot. I
just want to throw that out. I just want to get your
But so that's another good thing I've seen on the training camp, just to round it out. Like I said again, so that was the end of our first episode. It's great to be back. We're changing up the format, like we said. We're gonna have episodes releasing on Monday to kind of talk about the game that that just happened, and then previewing a little bit into the next upcoming week. And that's what will happen with Shontis and Money in the Bank, that's going to be switching and moving to Fridays now. And he'll kind of have he'll have your X factor for the game. He'll have, some of your biggest matchups for the game, whatever he feels like doing. And, we'll kind of still throw that around. And we're going to also have a new segment coming out that we're still in the works with, but we'll have more information about that as we move on. There might be some changes going on throughout the season in terms of what we're going to use to put out the podcast or some of our graphics. But it's all in the hopes of getting better. And so once again, y'all, it's great to be back. And just again, routing it out, like I said, our thoughts and our prayers are all with Ron Rivera and his family. And we pray that he can, that Riverboat Ron will kick this out of the park. And it'd be like just all the fourth downs that he was able to convert, and he could just go right past it. But again, y'all, until next time, it's great to be back. And until next time, keep pounding.